Every year I do this. Every year I say to myself, hey Nick, May the 4th is coming up. You should release a Star Wars video. And then I say, absolutely I will. I'm going to write one, I'm going to shoot one, I'm going to edit one, and I'm going to have it released on May the 4th in a relaxing manner. And every year I forget.
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Huh? Think, McFly. Think.
I don't know, maybe next year I'll actually remember to write and release a Star Wars video in time for May the 4th without being stressed, but until then, kindly enjoy this video that I've been wanting to make for a little while now. Without further ado, here's that Bill Murray clip that I put in front of all my Star Wars videos.
Star Wars! Nothing but Star Wars!
Hello, incredible YouTube community here on Earth and those watching from a galaxy far, far away. My name is Nick Pulmanakos. Welcome to my YouTube channel. And as you probably assumed, today we're going to be discussing... Now, the last two editions of my Star Wars Day video essay saw me discussing the animated series Star Wars The Clone Wars. But for this year's video, I decided to focus on something a little different. I mean, we are still talking about the Clone Wars, but just not the one you're thinking about. In today's video essay, we're going to be focusing on...
One of the things that I really focused on from the first season to the second was I wanted it to feel like Star Wars. And so I really concerned myself with getting the feel right. Like you're watching it and you forget that it's a cartoon. And you just believe that it's Anakin, it's Obi-Wan, it's Yoda. You believe those are the characters.
Initially with the first series, they originally were supposed to be commercials. Lucasfilm themselves, they decided that they would be a little longer, so they became longer episodes. But we weren't able to tell a lot of story. It was mostly just action. With the advent of the second series, we actually were able to tell an actual fairly long story, and more like a movie, like an animated movie.
Created in 2003 by animation legend Genndy Tartakovsky, Star Wars Clone Wars was meant to act as a bridge between George Lucas's recently released Star Wars Attack of the Clones and the upcoming finale to the prequel trilogy, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. The micro-series consisted of short episodes that cover the titular Clone Wars, Anakin's relationship with Obi-Wan, the rising Separatist alliance, and teases the eventual downfall of the Jedi Order, featuring gorgeous animation, incredible fight sequences, and a damn good score that we do not talk about nearly enough. Tartakovsky's Clone Wars quickly became a fan favorite amongst the fandom. Unfortunately though, since Lucas decided to craft his own Clone Wars series, which went on to obviously become one of the most beloved Star Wars projects ever, this series gets overlooked in favor of the show which, judging by its episode count, is obviously the more fleshed out version of the Clone Wars story. When looking at both shows though, there's one defining aspect in particular that is clearly done better in one show than the other. Of course, if you read the title, you'll know that I'm talking about everybody's favorite coughing villain, General Grievous. You know, I want to believe that this is a well-known fact, but just in case it isn't, Tartakovsky's Clone Wars is actually where General Grievous made his Star Wars debut, and oh my god, dude, was he ever incredible, terrifying, calculating, confident, and an absolute badass. With lightsabers, Tartakovsky's Grievous was an absolute menace, and easily the best aspect of that series as a whole. Lucas tasked Tartakovsky with introducing Grievous, who was already planned to be the newest villain for the Republic to face off against in Revenge of the Sith. All Lucas told Tartakovsky was that Grievous was meant to be a ruthless, totally capable Jedi killer, but he would later change his mind and have Grievous in Revenge of the Sith be more of a mustache-twirling villain. Despite this, Tartakovsky charted ahead on making Grievous one of the most formidable villains ever seen in this franchise, while ending his story in a place that would lead nicely into Lucas's film. So, for this essay, allow me to simply share my love for Tartakovsky's version of this character. Nothing complex, no subversion of expectations, just a simple video about why I love this version of Grievous. Let's jump into his intro, shall we? Okay, Before I start this, let me just ask you guys a quick question. Has there ever been a villain in Star Wars, at least in movies or TV, that was introduced with such terror? Seriously, Vader in A New Hope is intimidating, but it's a simple walk-in. Kylo Ren is cool, but aside from the awesome Force freeze, his is also subdued. Hell, even Palpatine merely walks onto the second Death Star, powerful as ever, but mostly aloof to those around him. The same cannot be said here for Grievous in Clone Wars. Right from the start, we see a Jedi making a distress call to Anakin and Obi-Wan. He's exhausted, clearly frightened about what's to come. He's only getting a few words out before Grievous strikes him down. We then cut to a group of Jedi in hiding, discussing how this new droid general is unbeatable and how hope is fading. Suddenly, Grievous's voice is heard for the first time, and we hear quite possibly some of the hardest lines in the entire franchise. I mean, dude, does it get any better than this? Just listen.
Jedi, you are surrounded. Your army is desolated. Make peace with the Force now. I will grant you a warrior's death. Prepare.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
As Grievous stalks his prey, one Jedi apprentice panics and runs out, only to be utterly crushed by a falling Grievous. From there, we're treated to one of the best lightsaber duels in the entire franchise, as Grievous humbles the Jedi to the point of no return, striking several of them down with ease, all while I'm sitting in front of the TV screen with my jaw on the floor. I mean, hell, I was like 6 or 7 years old when this series first dropped on Teletoon here in Canada, and all these years later, I am still losing my mind at how the Jedi were portrayed as literal superheroes in this show with godlike abilities, and in comes this deep voice mechanical monstrosity to say, oh, you thought you were powerful? Think again. Attack of the Clones had already shown that the Jedi were not invincible, but Clone Wars' earlier episodes presented the Jedi as this unbeatable force for good, never losing a fight and always giving it everything they got in the name of a more peaceful galaxy. But in this battle, as Lucas initially puts it, this ruthless and totally capable Jedi killer barely breaks a sweat when striking down these Jedi Knights. In addition to continuing the lightsaber battle from part 1, Grievous pops up again in Tartakovsky's second part of the Clone Wars, first in a quick scene with Dooku where we see how he actually learned to be so skilled with a lightsaber. Learning from arguably the best duelist in the galaxy would obviously have an impact, but this quick scene shows that while he still has much to learn, even Grievous makes Dooku actually work when he's trying to disarm him, and the reveal of how many lightsabers he already possesses. Dude, of course the ending scene to part 1 proved he can take out Jedi, but Grievous is just carrying around the trophies of his fallen enemies? To be perfectly honest, this was the moment that Grievous became a favorite character of mine, but somehow the show manages to top this great moment later on. Fans of the prequels will obviously remember that Revenge of the Sith begins with the Battle of Coruscant and the capture of Chancellor Palpatine, while Season 7 of the Clone Wars teases the battle and capture before switching to the Siege of Mandalore. The OG Clone Wars actually takes us into the heart of this battle, showing us the initial invasion, how Yoda and Mace Windu fared in the battle, and Grievous's plan to capture Palpatine. Just before actually going into this story beat, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how surprisingly great the humor is in this entire sequence. I mean, just look at this, top tier stuff all around.
See, it was nothing.
Ithorians, four throats, quite powerful.
So I've heard.
Anyways, Grievous breaks into Palpatine's quarters and, like the Jedi before, absolutely decimates a squadron of clone troopers in yet another stunningly animated sequence. Even Grievous can't hide his excitement at the thought of how easy and fun it will be to cut these troopers down, and he wastes no time in doing so. From there, we see how relentless this character is, only adding to how terrified the Jedi must be feeling. No matter where they go, how fast they run, or how skilled they are, Grievous always manages to find them, hunt them down, and, well, kill them. He strikes down Jedi Knights Roran Karab and Foul Mudama, now facing Jedi Master Jacques T, who's completely exhausted from her battle against Grievous's Magna Guards. It doesn't take long before he defeats her too, but opts to merely trap her in his electric wiring, preferring she watch as he captures the Chancellor and revels in the Jedi's failure to protect the leader of the Republic. He almost escapes completely unscathed, but Mace Windu arrives and uses the Force to completely crush the robot's insides, causing Grievous to develop his iconic cough and, as future appearances will show us, operate at a much different level than what we saw here. Grievous is still formidable in Revenge of the Sith, but he's a lot more cartoonish, opting to run away when he senses a fight is lost, but still fights with honor like he did against Ki-Adi-Mundi and Jacques T. But as the new Clone Wars series made waves, one thing was for certain: this monstrous Grievous of the past was no more, as the series would fully dive deep into the idea that the Separatist general was always cowardly and cartoonish instead of, horrifying and brutal. And so, in the end, even though Tartakovsky's series is not canon anymore, I will forever love what this guy brought to the Star Wars franchise. A beautifully animated, expertly executed tale of the Jedi at the end of their story, and the Sith reclaiming the galaxy once more. Hello Force users of the YouTube community, thanks so much for checking out my latest Star Wars Day video essay. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Manakos, and I've been Nick Manakos, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later everyone.